Wow, Phil Vassar, you and I have known each other a long time.
Yeah, I
It
know. As long as you can know each other and still be alive. How are you
let me
doing?
I'm doing well. Let me tell you something. You can see now, for those of you guys who are listening to the audio, no, but if you're watching the YouTube thing, all right, my wife goes, "Is that what you're gonna wear to talk to Phil Vassar?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "You know he's good looking, right?" I said, "Hey, babe, let me tell you something.
He's
If
got
I
me
were to
mixed up with somebody.
if I were to race Usain Bolt, I know I'm not going to beat him in the race, so I'm just trying to get a picture at the starting line. That's all I'm trying to do."
That's the way to do it, man. I'm telling you. How you doing, brother?
Man, I am doing so well. I'm doing great. And I can't tell you how thrilled I am to see you. I mean, I remember when they first brought you out, right? When they came out, because you're doing the 25 anniversary tour, right? 25 years of you doing this. And I remember when they first came out, and I'm like, first time I met you, I'm like, wow, he's a songwriter. And Nate and Julie were like, yeah. And they're like, he's written this song and this song and this song. And I'm like, he's too damn talented and good looking to be a songwriter. And they're like, well,
No.
that's why they're putting him on stage.
Yeah, and it's not that's not true, but you're nice to say that. But yeah, it's crazy, man. I'm
Dude,
still doing it. Last couple of years were really tough, and I mean that's what I mean. I never drank. Everybody knows I never drank, and I never did drugs. I worked out every day, and had a heart attack. So you
my
just
God,
don't.
you
You
didn't
never
even
know.
try.
I never eat fried food. I still don't,
I mean,
but
I
I
know.
don't never liked it. But who knows? Maybe I should.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Because I remember us talking about it, and I'm like, oh, wait. And at some point years ago, and I'm like, I told you we'd go get some fried chicken, and you're like, I don't eat fried food. And I'm like, what did you just say?
I
Did
know.
you just say you did? And and it's the power of genetics in it, because you had a
Yeah.
heart attack and then you had a stroke, and
Hmm.
it's like, thank God because you worked out. Listen, man, go and find the pictures of Phil Vex. Man, you wore out the mediums, is what we call it out here in California. You know what that means?
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
The
this
medium
medium.
shirts. Yeah. So those shirts that would just fit you to the point where I could tell where you had a mole. Right. I mean, but you earned it. I had no problem with you wearing those shirts because by God, you earned it. You were out there working and doing all that stuff. And if you had literally told me, hey, pick 10 country singers who had a heart attack, buddy, you wouldn't have been in the top 100. You wouldn't have.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, you just think you're doing everything right. You eat right. You don't drink. You don't do any of the bad stuff. But but you end up, going through all the stuff I went through. But it's I feel so much better than I did. So I mean, I can honestly say, I'm kind of glad it happened now. Because I know how bad I felt before. I know I was miserable and I didn't know why. And kept working out harder and harder. And it's just, it doesn't matter. My doctor was like, well, it doesn't matter. He said, you had bad genes. He said, you were in good enough shape to survive the heart attack, the stroke, and not, it was
Amen.
solid.
Isn't that it? I mean, because that was the good thing about you did work out so hard is that your
Yeah.
body gave you that fighting chance that, let's be clear, most men our age aren't
Yeah.
going to, they're not going to get that chance.
Yeah. It's something, but I'm very grateful and thankful. I do think, I'm slowing down a little bit, and I like that. I missed 30 years of my kids' lives, and, I did everything I could to, to be home and be present for them. But, you're just on the road doing, radio, video, writing, doing all that stuff you do. And now I'm just going to play when I want to play and write when I want to write, it's just good.
Well, that's the sacrifice nobody thinks about, right? I mean, nobody
Yeah.
thinks about what it takes. They just see you up on stage and think, man, that's great. Like you just magically appeared there. And they don't realize the journey that came, right? That I mean, you
Yeah.
you can watch Steph Curry play basketball, but you weren't there when he was 7 years old doing jump shot after jump shot to get him to where he's at. And that's the same thing with you. When I sit down and watch you play piano,
Mm.
I have the same feeling when I watch Keith Urban play guitar.
Yeah, I love Keith.
And you guys just look like you were born to do it, but it's because you've put so much time. Not only did you have the talent to do it, but talent without drive. That's where the next level comes, is talent with drive. And that
Yep.
you had that drive to literally beat it out of a piano.
You know what I think about it now, especially, but when I came to Nashville, I wasn't a good piano player. I wasn't very good. I mean, I kind of knew what I was doing. I had a piano and I learned a little bit, and I wrote a song or two when I was, in high school or whatever, in college, but I wasn't good enough to play out or anything. When I got when I got to Nashville, I started, I bartended, and waited tables like a lot of people do, and I didn't want to get a real job, and so I ended up playing playing clubs. I mean, in Nashville, and it was a very different back then. And so what I would do, I took my piano and I set up in a bar and I said, "Look, man, just let me play tonight, and if you like it, then we'll do a deal." And so I ended up playing, and I had this following because I played golf all the time. I played golf all the time and played with a lot of the pros, and these guys, they were like, "Man, let's play golf or whatever." And so I told him, I said, "Look, man, I'm going to play at this place this weekend, and I want you guys to come out." And he said, "Play what?" So I said, "I'm going to sing and play." So I played some Elton John, Billy Joel, and Lionel Richie, and James Taylor, and Jimmy Buffett, all the stuff I grew up with, I was fans of. And then I started working my own songs in, and then they started singing all my own songs. So it's kind of funny how it just took a while. Of course, all the industry was like, got a lot of the guys, the publishers and the record labels. "You're a piano player, man. It doesn't work in Nashville." I'm like, "Huh?" Ronnie Millsap did pretty good. I said, Ray Charles did pretty well. I mean, all these things, they're just idiots. So
Well, the truth of it is, man, nobody knows. Nobody
yeah.
knows. I mean, we're all just because listen, if I knew the secret, I'd be talking to you from my private island right now, and you'd be with me.
That's the truth.
I can remember. I honestly can remember. We were sitting in the at the back in the offices of KRTY, and Kenny Chesney, when he would come to town, he would just walk in because he was nobody. He was
Yeah.
literally nobody. And I remember sitting back in the office one day, and we were talking. He goes, "I'm just trying to figure out what it's going to take." He goes, "I just feel like I released too many slow songs, and I just feel like what I'm going to take." And I literally told him that same thing. I'm like, "Dude, if I knew what the secret was, I'd be talking to a hell of a lot bigger star than Kenny Chesney right now." Right? Because we just don't know, and that just goes to show. But my thing is, talent, given the right circumstances, will always win out.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much timing, so much stuff. I mean, it was just it was to the point in Nashville, of course, nobody would cut my songs. We don't, they hated every number one song I've ever had. They hated them, except Just Another Day in Paradise, of course, or whatever. But, it was so hard just to get everybody to listen to songs to take me seriously, but but what I did have was a great local following. I had everybody coming to see me play every weekend at my own bar.
I was just to
And
say, you have your own bar, right?
I did. And and it just worked out because I got sick of playing for smarmy club owners, and this guy was this, and whatever, man. I just got so sick of it. I said, "Well, you know what I'm going to do?" And I always say, I saved my money. I saved a lot of money, and I made a lot of money then. And I said, there was this hotel that had like a banquet room kind of downstairs in it. And I said, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go over there and talk to these guys." And they're like, "Well, we're not doing anything in it right now." I said, "Look, I'm going to, my buddy owned a restaurant or had a restaurant, and he was a great Italian chef. So upstairs, we're going to do the restaurant. Downstairs, I'm going to This club that held several hundred people, 300 people probably, just packed in, and I did it, and I had a group of my band come in, or different guys come play with me, and I did all the Elton John, the Billy Joel, the work I'm all right, and bye bye, and just these songs. They were, they were starting to sing those songs just like they were covers, right? Uh, and uh, and finally, I got to the point where I was making so much money at that point. I was going, well, I've turned this into a thing, So, and then they started coming in. We'd have people like Donna Summers and Frampton and all those guys. Of course, lived over here, and they'd come in. And they'd come into my bar and eat at the restaurant. They were all just so great, And
You just blew my mind. I could see Frampton hanging out with you, but boy, Donna Summer, that had to be surreal because again, you and I are about the same age, and we know how big Donna Summer was. I mean, at one point there was no bigger star on the planet than Donna Summer.
she was so big everywhere in the world, and such a wonderful human being. I mean, I loved her. Just she was just great. And she'd come in, and I mean, she was so. And there was all these guys, Dobie Gray, people like that, that would, everybody in Nashville really respects songwriters. I mean, I think because most artists don't write their own songs. I
Mhm.
mean, no, Big McGraw, I mean, Chesney, Kenny, none of those guys wrote their own songs. Um, and way back, Waylon Jennings and Johnny Cash and the big guys were the Christophersons and all those guys that wrote all the songs, the big hits for those guys. And so it was a great place to learn the craft of songwriting, and I still love to do it. I love sitting down at a piano with a blank sheet of paper and writing something. And AI, everything's changing, but it was a real. You could make a huge living back in those days when you had a number one song. It was just like some people retired on one. So it was just it was an interesting time,
I
and
love one of your quotes that you said, "It's easy to write a song, but it's hard to write a great song."
well, yeah, it is. I mean, I think you have to, and some of my some of my biggest hits I've written in 10 minutes. I'm telling you. I woke up on my 30th birthday, wrote my next 30 years as fast as I could write it on a piece of paper, and because it was like, oh my god, I'm 30. What the hell happened? How did this happen? You know, and
Now we look
and
remember just now we sit back and realize just how stupid young that is.
no, it really is true. And I had my bar. I'd started this club, and I would go in, and I had a bunch of fans, and I would play my new song. I say, I got a new song I'm gonna play tonight, and I played, I'm all right, whatever, and everybody's just going, holy crap, do it again, or or songs like My Next 30 Years. I played it on my birthday. I'll never forget that night as long as I live. And you just wait for the crowd to react because they're going to tell you what they feel. Whether it's good or bad. Because heck, most of them are drinking. So. But I knew I had something. You just know you have something, but you don't know what it is. And then I'd go over to these publishers and they'd say, man, nobody wants to hear that crap about nobody wants to hear about turning 30. It's old, old.
Isn't it
Anyway,
crazy?
so it was funny. I'm all right. Man, it's got too many words, too many words. I think of that. If you ever saw Amadeus, the movie, it's one of my favorite movies. I'm going to watch it again. So.
Mozart.
He was amazing, but he the his sponsor, the king or whatever, he said, it's just too many notes. I just got too many notes there. Just take some of them out. And he was just like, well, which notes do you want me to take out? It's just so funny, but it really does relate to Nashville and country. It relates to everything, and so it was
It's
just
always shocking to me when you think about it, because you're on both sides of it, right? I mean, you've been the performer and the songwriter. But
Right.
when you step back and look at so many songs, when you talk about how somebody listens to My Next 30 Years or I'm All Right and knows that somebody sat back and said, yeah, that sucks. And they've done that to almost every big hit you can ever imagine. Somebody said, I mean, how
Okay.
many albums did Garth Brooks put out before he had anything? That it was just so much that so many people just said, nah, that's not good. And it just goes to show so subjective. That's the beauty of the internet. Now, the horribleness of the internet is it's cost a lot of money. But
Oh, yeah.
thing, the beautiful thing is man, you sit back. If you've got something to say and a way to say it, hell, you can do a Richmond north of Richmond. I mean, you can, you
Right.
know, and that would never be released by a record company.
Yeah, it's the truth, and that's what's so so great about it now. I mean, you don't have to go through, all these people. That you can go straight to the people, see what they think, and they can tell you what, they'll tell you, and I don't have to worry about, you had all these people we call gatekeepers.
I want to tell you why I am all in on Bison Junk. First and foremost, they are a full-service, eco-friendly junk removal company, but with this difference, they focus on recycling and donating usable goods. Their customer service sets them apart, and they pride themselves on their integrity. They'll show up when they say they will, and they'll do what they promise. If you have hard-to-remove items like hot tubs or large furniture, they figure it out so you don't have to. They want to be who you always come back to when it's time to declutter and organize your home or business. They're worth every penny at bisonjunk.com. What I was going, we were talking about you owning the bar and you were making money and going through that. I
Mhm.
did want to pivot and ask this. What was the drive? Because you were making money. You weren't struggling. You were doing well. What was that drive to go, no, 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 I want to be the guy up on stage going on tour? Because a lot of people think they want it. And, be careful what you wish for because you might get it. What
Right. Yeah.
what was that took you to that next level? And was it what you thought it would be?
Well, it all happened so quickly. It was. I
Yep.
played bars and did all that stuff for so long that I just almost. I said it'll never happen at this point. I've been watching the Billy Joel documentary. Have you been watching that at all? The new. It's really great.
It's on my to-do list for this weekend.
Yeah, he's just. But I played and played, but I wanted to. I just I knew what I wanted to do. I mean, I knew it, but they were like, "Well, you're a piano player, you can't do it." I said, "Well, I'm going to prove you wrong," and it ended up I did. Once I had enough hits and people, like I said, the record labels were coming to my bar watching me play my songs. They were like, this is stupid. Why don't we do this? It was just one of those things where it took a long time. It happened eventually, and all that stuff too with we were going through the Napster thing and people were downloading music for free. Do you remember that stuff 20 million years ago?
Absolutely.
And it was
Yeah.
just, so it was just every time something good would happen, it was weird because like Carlene came out, my label closed when my song got to number 40. Arista closed, and I'm like, are you kidding me? So anyway, the three labels conversion became one label with the three-headed monster, and so it was just everything going against me, but it happened anyway. So it's just you just some of it's so much of it's luck, whether it's you're at the right time, right place, right time, and all that stuff. It really is true. But it was, it just
I
seemed like
love
it was inevitable it was going to screw up.
I
Yeah.
am I am such a fan of songwriting. I am. I,
Right.
I love the process. I love how you can shift gears. Just another day in paradise. It became the quintessential. It almost defined an era, if you will, right? That it was the average American just trying to make it through the day, and you
Yeah.
didn't use a lot of words, right? I mean, but
Right.
you captured the struggle, but not in a maudlin way. It was one of the most hopeful. Yeah, things are hard. Ain't it great?
Yeah, yeah. That's funny. Yeah, it's the truth. Yeah,
It,
it was great. It worked out. I mean, we it's one of the songs, I mentioned all the songs, of course, that nobody was ever going to cut, but they all ended up getting cut. And
yeah,
you go through those stages where people come looking for your songs instead of talking about how bad they are. But Paradise, we wrote that song, and that day we just knew, well, we just knocked it out of the park on this thing, and my record label heard it, that they were, I was recording all this stuff, and I cut Paradise, and I said, boom, we're done. They loved Carlene. They loved all the stuff, and it was cool. But then, of course, like I said, my record got to number 40 or something, or 30, 49 or 40, something.
yeah.
And the record label closed. They got rid of the label head that signed me. All the, it's just, I was like, holy crap, but it worked out
Well, it did. And
somehow.
like I said, you mentioned Carlene because Carlene was the next thing, and it was so cleverly done. There was nothing I had heard that sounded like that when it came out.
Right.
And the whole, okay, here we go. Here's the girl I went to school with who was the geek, who was the, and now she's a chemist, and my God, she's hot and she models. I mean, how did you create that person? I love mythical people in songs. How did you create that person?
Well, what it was my the valedictorian of my high school class, but she was a sweet, sweet girl, and really pretty, and her name was Janice Rogues. That was her name. That is her name. But she was such a great, great, great human. And I went to school with all kinds of great, smart, incredibly smart folks, and they became, you know, you know, they weren't the normal folks. They went, one of them was on the discovery of the Hubble telescope. I mean, all these things that happened. I mean, really smart. And then there was guys like me that just was like, I was, I was, I was a really high jumper and all that stuff. But I just was writing the song that day, and I was writing with one of my buddies, and we talked about high school, and we were talking about ooh la la la, talking about that whole thing, and we just couldn't come up with the name, and the name came out of Charlie, who I was writing with at the time. God love his, he's what an amazing guy, and Janice, who just didn't sing well, right? All these things, and he goes, for about 30 minutes, we were kicking around names, and Edna and Doris and whatever, and he goes,
Ooh la
Carlene.
la la, Doris.
I said, Carlene, that's cool. So, and it was just, it just came out like looking good, Carlene. And it was awesome. And the funny thing was, you know, um, Cindy Crawford was going to be the star in the video, but at the last minute, she couldn't do it. I mean, we talked to her, and she's like, "Oh, I love the song," and she still talks about it. It's still funny because she was on. She was just doing an interview with Kenny and those guys on that Kenny Chesney's radio station that were talking
Yeah.
about that. She was hosting, and she was playing some of her favorite songs. Carlene was one of them because she's anyway. But I've gotten to meet her and her husband. I don't know how many times, a bunch of times over the years. And it's
Yeah.
funny how things like that line up.
Don't you wish you and I had got on that tequila train, and then we'd be billionaires with Cindy Crawford's husband and George Clooney and all that?
Yeah, it's something, man. It is something that the money that you know the liquor companies, and it's just incredible.
Oh my
It's
God.
pretty
And the
crazy.
musician and the actors and stuff that got into it. I mean, it all started with Sammy Hagar,
Oh
right?
yeah, right.
And Sammy Hagar. I mean, people forget about that. Sammy Hagar is like a damn billionaire, right?
Yeah,
because he sold that thing. And that was back in the day. I mean, as I said, when you could make money selling albums, that's how you made $600 million like Toby Keith, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
you could still do that era. And luckily I think you got in on the tail end of that, right? Which
Yeah.
amen and praise God that you were
Yeah.
able to be a part of that. I love it. When did Tim McGraw find you? Because Tim McGraw turned into like one of your biggest fans.
Well, I got really lucky because, Tim and I were actually using the same producer. And um and Jody, he was working with Jody Messina, right? So um and Jody came into my club, into my bar one night, and she'd come in or whatever, and she heard me doing "I'm All Right" and everybody singing along and "Bye Bye," and I did all these songs in my show whenever I'd play, and so Jody goes, "Oh my God, I want to cut those songs," and she ended up cutting several of my songs, and of course it had big hits with them, so that was great. It sort of got me, when Colin Ray had Little Red Rodeo,
The Red Rodeo.
and when I had Bye Bye, I'm All Right, it was it was sort of Katie bar the door, right? It was just a different time. It was
Did you just I'm sorry, did you just write the songs and throw them out in the universe, or did you ever write with anybody in mind?
No, I mean, I wrote the songs as an artist. I these are my songs. I demoed the songs, and once again, I always ran into the "you're a piano player" kind of guy, and that doesn't work. But anyway, but everybody behind pianos is usually they sit there and they don't move. I was always jump on the piano and do flips and all that stuff. That was kind of my thing, and
I'll take that as a yes, thank you.
yeah, right, exactly. And but it's still weird when I think about all the all the roadblocks, somehow or another it just happened anyway.
Well, again, it goes back to your talent. It goes back to your ability to sing those songs, to write those songs, to perform those songs. And you made, in my opinion, the quintessential country piano song. Uh, the sound of a million dreams is nothing but poetry. It is, and it doesn't work on anything other than than the piano. I mean, and I've heard it, and I've had. Listen, we got David Nail in concert coming here in 2 weeks, right? And he usually will start the show with that because it's the thing everybody knows him for out here. You got
Wow.
to sing "Sound of a Million Dreams." It literally, I know it wasn't a hit the rest of the country, but it was a huge hit out here.
Right.
And it was that whole thing. We've had Scooter Caruso come in and talk the whole story that wrote the song with, but it so captures everything about music, the longing, the desire, that feeling, the power of a song when a song hits you right.
Yeah.
Dude, I still can't. I'm damn near choking up right now
Yeah.
because it just so hits hard.
It really it really does. It's one of those songs. We wrote the song and I was just like, hmm, what do you do with this? And of course I recorded it more up tempo.
That's
My
what
version.
Scooter was
Huh?
saying. The Scooter Caruso was telling us, he goes, when Phil had this idea, it was a little bit quicker than the way David Nail does it.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, because I just hate ballads. I hate them. I mean, they're great, but most of them are just snarky and simple, and it's like, they're just B songs to me. But I mean, of course, you got great ones that become huge hits, and they should. But it's hard to write songs like a "Sound of a Million Dreams," which was, you know, I mean, we were just sitting there, just I had this little thing going, so it was weird, and and we were talking about, of course, us a couple of songwriters sitting there, you know, commiserating, you know, and but it was definitely it was a strong, it was a cool song. I just knew when I heard it, I said, it's not ever going to be a hit. It's never going to be a hit, because it's just a slow song. Ballads are hard unless they have real cool production that was just produced differently, and which is great. But
There's certain songs that will live no matter what you do to them. I love the
yeah,
fact that I saw Old Dominion bring you up. I mean, those are some of the best songwriters. All of those guys are some of the best songwriters. And when they had a chance to share with the audience the song that meant something to them, what'd they do? They call up Phil Vassar and say, "Hey, Phil, will you do Sound of a Million Dreams with us?" I mean, to me, that was the biggest sign of respect. And I'm like, boy, I hope Phil really appreciated the attaboy that was.
yeah. I mean, they're great. I mean, when I met Matt and Trevor and those guys years ago, I said, man, they were doing stuff we're all from the same area, from in Virginia. And I said, man, you guys need to come to Nashville. You got to come to Nashville. And they did. And started, I said, look, how can I help you? I can do whatever I can do, open some shows or do whatever. And, it just, they had the right team, the right engine behind them, and it really worked. And they're just great. I mean, they're a great live band, and they're great writers. And it's hard to, that's what the Beatles were, right? When you got a big, a group of guys that are talented like that, it's really it's magic. It's hard to, because usually you have the bickering and all the other stuff that goes with being in a band. I mean, when I was first starting out, they, man, you should be in a band. I'm like, I do not want to be in a band. I don't want to be in a band because I'll kill somebody. And it's just, it's just the way it is. And I realized that, but I'd rather sit on a stage with a piano and play my songs.
Well, bands are so tough, and it's amazing. Anybody, I mean, look at the Police, right? Those are just three guys who could not get along.
Oh no.
And Sting always said, "Listen, I need to be able to fire people." Right? I mean, that was his thing. And he goes, with the Police, I can't fire Andy. I can't fire Stewart. Right?
You're right.
I'm stuck with these guys. Well, and as dictatorial as it sounds, it makes life a lot easier. Ask Paul McCartney.
Yep.
Life gets a lot easier when you're like, no, no, no. Because, it's like somebody told me one time, they said, everybody in the band, the bass player's girlfriend is telling him, you're the reason they're successful. Everybody is. Right?
Yeah.
And it turns into this whole thing. So I think the best thing, and I've talked to Matthew and those guys, and I've said, the best thing for you guys is that you didn't get together as 18-year-olds.
Yeah. Right.
That you
It's
were able to
true.
understand a little bit more of the maturity of how this works.
Yeah, it's just so great, just seeing them come to their own, into their own. It's been fun to watch, and I'm just proud of them. It's cool. It's cool to see them sort of develop and there's a lot of pieces, of course, when like I said, you have managers and people and publicists and this, and you got all these people coming at you, trying to tell you what to do. And it's like, can I just do what I do? And, you know, it's hard to lose your edge, with all these people, trying to, stick their nose in your business.
Well, it's just like I was talking to Bobby Pinson. Bobby Pinson used to be our house band out here, right? And
Hmm.
and he was saying, and him and Toby were close, and I know you loved hanging out with Toby. And he was telling me, he goes, because I asked him, I said, why does Toby still do it? Because it ain't for the money. I mean, when
Right.
you build your own private golf course, you're doing pretty good. Uh, and he goes, Gary, it's to make everybody else money. That's why
Yeah.
he's still doing it. He's doing it to make everybody else money. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, and I'm like, because, if you saw Toby the last few years, man, you got 45 minutes of Toby.
Yeah.
He was going to get up and like you. He wasn't going to sing the slow songs. He was going, "How do you like me now? We're not going to do, who's that man? We're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it toe tapping." But
Right.
it's fascinating to me.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I still can't believe that Toby's, he was great. I mean, he was just a great guy. He was fun and full of life, and nobody rocked hard as Toby. I mean, he was just fun, you know.
And very smart. I think
Oh
that's
yeah.
the thing because people saw this big hulking guy, and they
Mhm.
did not realize what a damn genius the man was.
Yeah, man, he was very smart. I mean, really smart and really fun to write songs with. I mean, first, Chuck Cannon, who wrote a lot with Toby, as a matter of fact, I just wrote a song with him, a couple weeks ago. And anyway, it's just it's weird, your writers. I don't know, as far as when you're in a group of songwriters, even as an artist, you can you're just there's no closer. I mean, they know your inside and out. They know your heart and soul. You know, you
Well, and
can't
that's
hide
the first thing
from
you
a
do
writer.
because we have so many, because we do songwriter shows out here. We do them once a month. And by the way, open invitation to you, my friend. We'd love to have you out. We'll have a Phil Vassar night. Uh, but it's yeah, Nate, call Phil. But
What's Nate doing, man? I gotta call him.
Oh, I just played golf with him last week. I mean, early,
He's really,
yeah, and he's still, he hits it straight and claims he's trying to work the ball. And I'm like, why? What's wrong with hitting it straight? You know?
there's
And
nothing wrong with that.
are you still teeing it up? I have to ask that. I have to go up on personal tangents. Are you still
It's
teeing it
funny.
up?
I'm going to play golf tonight. We're going to play. I'm going to. I mean, I hadn't played in 3 years or over 3 years now since before the heart attack, before all that stuff, and the year before I didn't play. It was just no time. But I mean, heck, I belong to a great course, and there's so many great courses in Nashville. It's just it's a great place to do it, and so I'm going to go over there and hit them in the woods today.
Well, we got a few courses out here in Northern California. I'm just
Yeah,
throwing that out there, Phil. I'm just
I'd
saying
love
that
to, man.
just in
I would
case
love it.
we'd love to get you out here because and I'm sorry, I've never had a chance to talk to you for this long because
Mhm.
I love nerding out with you. And as you can tell, I hope you can tell by now how much a fan I've always been. And as I
Um,
said, I love that you do. Dude, when I found out you wrote Right on the Money that Alan Jackson cut, I I could not have been more flabbergasted. I mean,
we did that
that
song last night in concert. It was great.
it's amazing. I mean, talk about going against your grain. There was no way that I was expecting that, right? That would have, my God, it could have been a Lee Thomas Miller song. It could have been a Tim Nichols song. I wasn't expecting it to be a Phil Vassar song.
That's funny because when I wrote the song, I knew Alan was cutting. We were label mates. We're both Arista Records artists, and I said, man, I love this song, and the words, it's fun, it's tongue in cheek and just funny, and the thing I liked about it was it's a relationship song. The differences between the men and men and women are a little different, but it's pretty cool. I mean, and putting that song together, I wrote that song with Charlie Black, who's I lost him 5 or 6 years ago, and one of my dearest. He was one of my heroes, right? When I started writing songs, he saw this guy with all this energy, me, and come in with a piano, and he's like, "Holy crap!" So it was really fun to. He was kind of one of my songwriting soulmates, right? And we just started laughing, and we started writing a song called "Right on the Money," man. And we wrote the song, and well, as you do some days, you just have those days where you some days it's a lot of work, but uh, that day it was really fun.
That's funny. And another thing, another song that I find is underrated. And I remember talking to my on-air partner Julie about it. I said, "You know what I love about this song?" She goes, "What?" I said, "It is a slow song done fast." And she goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "The song I'm going to tell you, if you listen to the words, it's a ballad, but for a little while is played up tempo." Right. And that is a ballad if I have ever heard a ballad at all. But the way it is, man, that beat, I'm like, my God, that is the quintessential Phil Vassar right there. I'm going to write
Yeah.
something deep and we're going to keep it moving.
Yeah, that was a song too. Once again, you're thinking about your hometown, you're talking about all this stuff. And two, the song I did write as a ballad that was a big hit was That's Where I Love You. And it just I said, man, we got to speed it up. We're in the studio, and let's speed it up, and kept speeding it up. I'm like, what? And it was just it was a huge song, it just feels good. We open the show a lot of times with that. And it's just one of those, it makes you feel good. And I think that's, so it's not gonna, save the whales or anything like that, but I just think it's a cool love song.
The majority of the time, we don't need to save the whales.
No,
You
I
know,
know.
and we don't need to sit back. You've written those songs that save the whales. A Sound of a
Uh-huh.
Million Grains saves the whales. I mean, and Just Another Day in Paradise saves the whales. It does. But the other song, it's like, man, the things that you put together. I just so enjoy it. I when I saw that, I was doing my research on you, and I saw that you were friends with Robert Byrne, and I'm like, man, that makes sense because What I'd Say is one of my favorite songs of all time. And
It's
and I
amazing.
and I sit back and look and I see that influence on you because I could if somebody would have said, Phil Vassar wrote What I'd Say, I'd go, makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, he was great, and one of my dear friends, and that crushed me. I mean, I wrote Last Day of My Life about Robert, and anyway, but it's just, when you lose people you're really close to, we had conversations. I mean, that's the thing about your writers. They're almost like they're, they're therapists,
Therapist. Yeah.
it's a therapy to write a song, with one of your buddies. And, that's why you do it anymore. I think that's why I do it, just to get you get that reaction from your friends, and that conversation with your friends. And it's pretty awesome.
Well, I
The
am I
project,
am
man. Mm.
I just yeah, and you can tell I just love the process of songwriting. I'm interested with the 25th tour, the 25 years of Phil Vassar, and doing the cover songs. How did you choose which cover songs to do from Billy Joel and Elton John?
I've usually always ended my show with Piano Man. I'll sit at I've sit at the piano, and that's the last thing. Everybody leaves the stage, and I sing that. I've been doing that for, 40 years. I mean, it's always been, Billy Joel's been my hero, and he still is. He always is. But um, it just, I don't know. That's when you kind of take that song, make it your own. I mean, there's songs, that I've tried to, or that I've thought about ending the show with, but I don't know. It just always feels right just to do that. But guys like him and Elton, and Jackson Brown, and we got to see Jackson last year, and he's just, a monster writer. And it's pretty cool though when even Vince. Of course, I've known Vince for since I moved to Nashville about 100 years ago, and played golf, and he did my TV show and everything else. But he's just that guy. He's fun to talk to. And uh, I just I don't know if I respect anybody more than Vince Gill. He's a great writer and a great artist, and I wish everybody was like him. But
My
there's no way. But
my favorite Vince Gill story. We were backstage before some show. He had talked about I love bluegrass, right? And I know his background's in bluegrass. I love bluegrass. And he
yeah.
goes, yeah, he goes, I love bluegrass too. It's just one day I felt like I really, really wanted to own a house.
That's funny. That is great. And that's true. I mean, you can. It's like Kenny and I were talking one day, where he was like, "Well, yeah, man, I don't get these people that it seems like they have more Grammys than they have fans." That made me laugh so hard. But it was true, but Vince was, I mean, that's my daughter.
Your
Anyway,
daughter's there?
my daughter just showed up. Yeah, she's
Which one, Haley or which one?
Haley.
Oh, man.
Yeah, she's. I think that we're going to go into the studio or something today. So.
Well, listen, you got important things to do. I do have to ask, do you do the whole Elton John, like a funeral for a friend, the whole requiem, the whole thing? Can you play that?
Well, I've gotten to hang out and meet Elton John and play and talk to him, and but I mean, he's got so many. Of course, he's he's very classical. He's kind of a classical trained, like whereas Billy Joel can do all the classical stuff too, but he's more of a blues kind of, steeped in that. But I love to, like Vince and I talked about, like Hornsby is a really, he loves
Bruce?
bluegrass, and he did that stuff with the Skaggs, I just love it.
I love this. Anytime you have time to talk, you see how many rabbit holes I'd go down. And
Well, we can do it anytime. We can do it
yeah,
anytime.
Phil Vassar, you've been the best. I can't wait to talk to you again. Thank you so much, and stay healthy. All right.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. It's good. It's good to see you, man.